introduce you today to Mara Hildebrand, based over in London. She's going to tell you a little bit about her story and her journey, her inner work journey with us. Mara, how long have we known each other now? Welcome, first of all.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Ant. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
How long have we known each other?
Oh, since since maybe 2011?
Wow.
No. What has it been that long? No, 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 no. It's been about 4 years.
Okay,
It's
cool.
been four
Yeah, I
years.
was going to
Yeah,
say
yeah,
four
yeah,
or
yeah.
5 years. Yeah, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
4 years.
And so
Yeah.
you were participating in one of our previous programs, obviously, and now you've come back recently and done a 6 month immersion with us. Very keen to kind of get into that, hear your story, unpack that. But first of all, tell us a little bit about who is Mara Hildebrand.
Yeah. So I work for a philanthropic foundation here in London. I'm half Kenyan and American. Lived most of my life in Sub-Sahara, and even though I sound incredibly American, I've had about 8 years in the States on and off, and in the UK now for five, but the last time for two more. So I've been around quite a bit, a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
travel,
yeah,
but that comes with the job as well too. So
totally. It's like every time we
yeah,
speak, you're like, oh, I'm in Kenya, oh, I'm in Ethiopia, oh, I'm in America somewhere, oh, I'm in London. Like I can see you suitcases there. You're like
totally,
literally a globetrotter. Awesome.
totally.
And so, tell me a little bit about. Let's get straight into it. But a little bit
Yeah,
about what life was like before coming here, before doing your inner work.
yeah.
What was going on?
It's quite simple. I was just really unhappy. To be honest, I didn't realize just how unhappy I was. There was there was a hamster wheel I had been running on, if you know that term, hamster wheel,
Totally. Yeah.
that kind of thing that just keeps spinning,
Yeah.
that I'd been running on since I was very small, that I didn't realize existed, didn't realize that I was on, didn't think that, that was my experience and my constant experience. But that really was what was happening to me. And it meant that, everything, all my identity had been put into my career. All of my identity had been put into what success ought to look like for me. And for me, that success wasn't about family necessarily. Those are the things that you have on the side. They're the
Uh,
things that are important, but they're the things that aren't as important as having success.
yeah.
And for me, success, unlike for some, it might be success in being a mother or success in being, like core for your family. For
Mm,
me, success was all about my job. It was all about where my career was going to go, all about not necessarily making the money, because I work in development. I work in global health and development. There's not bucket loads that I'm going to be making,
sure.
right?
Sure.
I'm never going to be the 1%, nor do I want to.
Yep.
But it was simply just constant, like on this hamster wheel of like trying to get to the next thing. And what perfect looked like, and happiness looked like for me at that time was, I'm a CEO for one of these huge international development organizations.
Yeah.
And I'm making people feel, and women feel empowered, to rise to the top, particularly women of color.
Yep.
And they would look up to me and see me as this, like just person who's gotten there and achieved things, and that would make me really happy. That would be my ultimate designed happiness.
Yep.
And I didn't really see much else outside of that. And there really wasn't much else outside of course, being fit, right? Being
Yeah.
fit, being sexy.
Yeah. Well, that's how.
But like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like, was there one partner? No, not necessarily. There were probably many, like it
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah, it wasn't, wasn't core. Like that's where I was before.
And so that's a really interesting point you make there, because a lot of people come to us and they might work in a corporate, environment, or they work in a job where they're working for big business, and they perhaps feel like, I need to do something with a little bit more purpose. I need to do something a little bit more meaningful. And hearing you working like as a philanthropist, helping, like literally helping people in some of the most, epic kind of ways across the planet. Yet hearing that you're doing all this great work for all these people, literally changing women's lives, but I still wasn't happy.
Yeah. And it's this point as well of like, I have to do more. It's not enough.
Wow.
It's not enough to do this work. It doesn't, you can only do so much. And I recognize that that's a fact of our job. Like we can look and hope that we're having a large impact over generations. And in some cases we do, but equally, oftentimes I recognize in my work, and because of the different levels that I've worked in, from the grassroots to, a higher up NGO, to a local CBO, to an international one, you recognize that maybe you're only really impacting a few, like a handful. But you're hoping that has a wider impact on generations to come. Yet none of that, and even knowing that, none of that was bringing me joy.
Wow.
None of that I really soaked up and accepted.
Why do you think that is? Because I know a lot of people will hear that and go, because I just need to do something meaningful. I just need to do something purposeful. And of course, I think you should do something meaningful and help others. However, you're doing that, or were doing that, and you still weren't finding happiness. Why do you think that was?
For me personally, it was because I had put my identity around the wrong, or the wrong things. Like I had this ego, right? This idea of what this ought to look like. And it doesn't matter what job you have, whether it's something like what you do, whether it's something, in that you're working on the ground and you're doing grassroots work, etc. It doesn't matter, right? Because if you haven't embraced, what life actually offers and where you can fit into that space, how you see those connections and so forth, you're not really going to ever find that happiness, because we still live in a world that looks at success and defines it a certain way, regardless of whether or not you're working in an industry like mine. It's still corporate. It's still, in a way, got its, big business way of thinking, and, has all these ideals that are wrapped into it that might not necessarily fit my values. I just didn't know. I just didn't know what those values were. I didn't understand. I didn't understand just like what I actually wanted. I thought I had it mapped out. And a lot of that, came from my past. Like my dad was a workaholic. He worked for the United Nations. And so like equally, in an industry, in a space that really is helping people on a mass level, and with government, which is, usually the most impactful.
Sure.
And so I just saw him on his hamster wheel all my life. He was barely around, but I looked up to him, and my sister as well. We looked up to him so much. And so for us, my dad, and for me, my dad was like, this is what you need to do. You need to do this in order to be happy, because that's what dad said, or that's what dad did. And like, that's what I'm going to do. Like, that's just how it is. And there's no alternative.
It's so interesting, because many of us have that point of view, right? Whether it be from family or schooling or education systems or whatever it might be, where we're kind of taught, if I just get these outsides right, if I get the job and become the CEO and I'm helping all these people and tick all these boxes, then I'll be okay, and then I'll reach this happiness. And so I'm looking at externally for something that I'm only ever going to find inside myself, right?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And the same with like, because I've always had a problem with weight. I've always kind of literally, it's been like this. And when when I put these hills, I'm truly saying like the hills, right? From obesity
With the lean and fit.
yeah, or to too lean even,
Yeah.
and fit, you know, right? Fit, not really, because you're too thin,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
I've been through the gamut, and my skin is a map of that. Yeah, it's
Wow.
like
Wow. Yeah.
indicative of that. Diets and different types of you know, South Beach diet, Atkins, you name
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
I've done,
Yeah.
I've done it. And it's all just, you know, well, that's the picture. That's the picture that you have in your mind of success. The woman who's a CEO, who's fierce and strong, she's fit, she's beautiful, she's, you know, she's got all these things about her that on paper and on the screen just sell success.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's how I thought about it, you know, and so
Wow.
that's what I thought would make me happy.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so what did you find, and thank you for sharing that, that's really cool. I know a lot of people relate to that, yet either can't articulate it or are too frightened to articulate it. So thank you. I know it takes a lot of courage. What did you find turning up here, or turning up and starting sessions with us and starting your program? What kind of happened? Like, what did you begin to learn? Like, I know before you talked about, I didn't even really know what my values were. I just had this picture in my head. Like, what came up for you?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, the first thing was when I came into Awaken Lifestyles, I came in because I realized something was wrong.
Yep.
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't have any clue.
Yeah.
But I knew that there was something off. I hadn't had a partner, like a boyfriend or a relationship, in about 10 years.
Yeah.
I hadn't, I couldn't figure out, there was something missing, and I couldn't figure out what that was. I just felt unhappy. And so I had come in on a different program with you, Pure and Lean, like years ago.
Yep.
And so you were now showcasing this Awaken Lifestyles, and it looked really different. It looked, you know, a little bit more kind of in the weeds of what's like really going on, in the foundations of what's happening to
I like
person.
that.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, maybe I need to get into the foundations a little bit. Maybe I need to really kind of get under the roof of this and really figure out what's happening. And then maybe I'll lose weight. Like the last time with Pure and Lean, like I'll just lose weight too. It would just be like the same, because I was at my fittest in my life on Pure and Lean, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, great. That's what I'll do.
I remember the videos you used to send me from the gyms in London. I was like, holy, you are a weapon. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, like deadlifting crazy amounts.
Yeah.
Squatting crazy. It's just amazing, right?
Yep.
Right. So I came in, you paired me up with an amazing coach, Kat.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we started talking, and I started going through the process of it. I was like, what is this? I'm like really freaking out. You know, these people are like trying to tell me all these things, or like they're not telling me, they're like making me think about all these things and really process some stuff that, like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, this is like a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot to cope with. It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And I think I was pushing back somehow in my own way without pushing back on things. And on the different things that you go through, the different lessons that you learn, the different things that you're unlocking. I was kind of pushing back on it a bit, and the journey. I was like, no, that's too close. Like, I'm not vulnerable. I'm a person who deals, you know, with things on her own, and like is strong and is capable. And like, you know, I don't need someone coming in and asking me these questions and making me think about my shit and make me think about my history.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had always thought, my mom is an issue. Like she's the one that, really caused all these problems because she left us and sob, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I had this whole story in my head of like where this all started. And I start letting go a little bit. I stop really trying to define how this will go for me, because that's something that,
Wow.
I
Yep.
would do,
Yep.
define
Yep.
where this will head, be
Yep.
able to adjust the narrative. I can talk a lot of game,
Yeah. Yeah.
like Ace Ventura, bend over and talk out of your behind. I was really good at that.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
good at that. But so I let go a little bit at some point. It was actually, I was on this work trip, which I didn't want to go on. And I had been telling Kat this the whole time, how unhappy I was to go on this work trip. And it was to Ethiopia. It was for 2 months. And my
Wow.
boss had tried to sell this idea to me. And I was just like, I knew that it wasn't about me. Like I knew it wasn't for me that I was going. And I knew it was for the organization. It was for the benefit of the program that I had been building and working on. And, she had tried to kind of talk through with me a little bit about if this was really something I wanted to do, and if it was something that I was really going for the right reasons. And I pushed back and I pushed back and I pushed back, and I went on this trip.
Yep.
And I'm there and I'm living out of this hotel for 2 months. And, Ethiopia is an amazing country. And I have so much love for Ethiopians and for Ethiopia. It's a very special place in my heart. But I wasn't happy. It was another thing I was doing for the benefit of the career, and yet not really. And, I was going because my boss had asked me, and I knew it would benefit the program to be there, but it wasn't for me. And, I had talked to Kat as if he was talking through me, giving the ideas of how it was going to benefit me. And I'm there and I start to really, because now everything's quiet. I'm no longer in London. I no longer have the life that I've been living. I'm in a new place. And so it's quiet, and I actually can start to soak up and take in what she had been teaching me without me recognizing I was being taught, and without feeling like it was instruction.
Yeah. Wow. 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 Powerful.
Yeah. And I learned, what the fuck am I doing? I just was like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What am I doing? This is absurd. Like I am here in this country, which is beautiful, amazing, and I'm not happy. I'm here doing a job that I actually do love. I do love what I do. Like I have a lot of passion in my space.
Yeah.
But I'm here for the wrong reasons. And so we start to really dig into that foundational stuff.
Yeah.
And we start to unpack, okay, where does this actually come from? And, we discover that my mother, sure, there were some things, abandonment stuff, sure. Yeah. But the true abandonment, the true thing that I learned was that actually the person I had been looking up to, my father, for all my life, he was like that golden star, worked for the UN. He was like the successful man, he put us through college. I didn't have to pay for my college, me and my sister, right? And that's a lot of money in the US.
Sure, wow.
And he, I just had to pay for my graduate school, but he, so I looked up to him. He was the guy, he worked a lot. He told us, this is how it works. You put in the time, you get your career to a place that you wanted to get to, and then you'll find that happiness. You'll be happy. Yeah. And I would see him always working. He was barely around.
Yeah.
And I realized actually it's him. I'm actually, a lot of the stuff that I was carrying and the identity I was wrapping myself around was his.
Came from there. Yeah, wow.
And it wasn't mine. I hadn't defined
Wow.
my success.
Wow.
I hadn't defined what my career can look like. I hadn't defined what my body should look like. I hadn't defined any of these things. I was afraid he would leave. I
Wow.
was afraid that, like, you know, I would kept being left, and he would leave all the time,
Yeah.
you know? So it makes a lot of sense
Totally. It always
where
does.
all that stuff came from, you
Yep.
know? And she, you know, Kat really had me think, okay, but you know that now, right?
Yeah.
You're aware
Yeah. Yeah.
now
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
this is what's happening.
This is the story I've told myself because
Yeah,
you actually made it up. Like,
yeah,
Dad didn't sit you down and say, this is who I, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's not necessarily his fault. Like, I
no,
made it up, right? Like, you
yeah,
made it up. Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think he realized, you
Of course.
know, how unhappy he was.
Of course. Yeah.
And so he, like, you know, he thought he was happy because he made his success. It wasn't given to him. And so, you know, I think that that really started to dig into it. I recognized, wait a minute, I haven't had a partner in a really fucking long time. It's been
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, I've had a lot of dates. You know,
Sure.
I've had a lot of sex. That's not
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm not intimacy. That idea of actually being intimate,
Emotional intimacy. Yeah.
that hadn't happened.
Yeah. Wow.
And the only person I really trusted was my sister, not even my friends. I would
Wow.
never tell people anything. I was a strong, confident woman, you know, who was going to be CEO one day, who had her shit together,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, who loved the single life, who was living it up in the city. Like that was all the things that I had defined myself with.
Wow.
And that trip to Ethiopia really started to make me think about the foundations of where this identity had come from and
Wow.
start to pull apart some of this thinking, right?
Wow.
And that was my turning point.
Amazing. Amazing. And so
Yeah.
then what are some of the practices or things that you had to kind of learn or do or apply in order to, so I've got this awareness now, holy shit,
Yeah.
haven't actually defined my own success or my own identity. What
Yeah.
have you had to do to kind of, or what did you have to do to kind of start making changes?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that started to really, one of the things, the tools in the toolkit that really started to change
Yep.
how I looked at my days.
Yep.
And then thus my weeks and thus my months and thus my years, right?
And my
Without
life.
knowing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Without knowing it.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
Was meditation.
Yeah. Wow.
Which I never did outside of yoga, you know, before.
Yeah.
So meditation daily, morning and night.
Wow.
And then setting my intentions every day.
So important. Yeah.
Setting my intentions every day.
Yeah.
And what that forced me to do was to live today.
Yes.
Stop living behind me, you know, in the past. Equally stop living 5 years, 5 years,
Totally.
10 years from now when I'm happy.
Yep.
Right?
Totally.
Because like why would I do,
Well,
why would I live?
Exist. Yeah.
It doesn't exist. I'm here now.
Exactly.
And yet I'm saying that I'm going to be happy down the line. Right?
Yep.
And that was a huge transition for me when I started to actually really set daily intentions.
Wow.
Daily gratitude ritual as well at the end of the night, where you run through the day. What did you accomplish? You know, that you're proud of about your day. What were the challenges you dug up? What are some things that, you know, you're recognizing were challenges for you? Totally. Not shaming me,
Never. Yep.
Not making me feel, you know, bad about it, but just really, you know, unpacking that. And then what are the things I'm grateful for?
So good.
And I had never done that. I had never lived for today.
Wow.
And so, you know, that was really transformational. The other thing that was really transformational with Awaken Lifestyles is obviously Kat, who I can't say how much I love her.
She's
Like,
pretty
you
special.
know, she's such a, and I'm sure it's like that for any of us who have these coaches that you
Yeah.
have in this team, because I mean, phenomenal ability to not make you feel judged
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Zero judgment,
Well, that's
you
because
know?
there's zero judgment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, you know, so I have said a lot of things. She knows everything, like literally everything about me.
Yeah.
You know, probably more than my sister,
Right.
who knows everything about me,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
And you know, so that's another thing, having those one-to-ones and really unpacking now the deep stuff, because I unlocked that I had all these things I was carrying that I didn't realize I was carrying, so I could get into it with her, really get into it. I didn't enjoy all the conversations.
No.
Most of them I cried in,
Yeah.
but holy shit, after I left every single one, I was so thankful.
Wow.
I was so thankful. My eyes were open.
Wow.
I could start to really understand how my views and my identity was wrapped in the things that I had never created, and how much I wanted different for myself.
Totally.
And so I could start defining that.
Totally.
You know, I knew what my values were. She helped me get there without telling me at all.
Totally.
Right? It's an awakening. It really is.
That's why it's called Awaken Lifestyles. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then the group calls.
Yeah.
I mean, for anyone who's missing out on those, what a bummer. Because being able to hear, you know, I was never one for group discussion, particularly about shit you're vulnerable about. You know, my abandonment issues is like, I am never sharing. I'm never really telling you the truth.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
But those group calls, the inner work circle.
Yeah.
It enables you to hear how much it's true for others.
Yeah.
That this is how everybody is living without knowing that that's how we're living.
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy.
And
so
you kind of like go, oh, got it. So I'm not this weird like person who's like been in this shit alone. And oh, wait a minute, I'm not that unique.
Yeah, wow.
My experience might be unique to me because it's my life story, but actually, other people have their unique story, but they're quite similar.
Yeah.
Like all of the stuff we're going through, it's actually quite similar.
Yeah. And
it's not that different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it enables you to feel like part of something. That see the connection that we all have as people.
Yeah.
See that connection that we all have. And that for me grounded it.
Totally. Wow. It's so nice that you hear that. It's so nice that you mentioned Inner Work Circle. And it's also really nice that you talked about the tough stuff, you know, because people come and they go, I want to do some work on myself, you know, personal development. And typically it is, you know, everyone talks about doing some meditation, gratitude and journaling and stuff. And that's the light, fluffy stuff, you know, that's the fun stuff, you know, we enjoy, like as humans, we like that. It's fun. But the stuff that makes the real change is going to the places that you swore you'd probably never tell anyone, you know, and talking about the things that maybe your own sister doesn't even know about you.
Yeah.
And working through them and unpacking them and understanding, oh, that's why I've done that, or that's why I believe that about myself, or that's why this pattern keeps repeating itself, or whatever. And that's, you're right. Like, it's so cool to hear that. And I agree, like an Inner Work Circle, particularly, like I part of my role is obviously selling people into the program, and it's, I can't sell that easily. It's like, come and join all these strangers and talk about this stuff that you really don't want to talk about, you know, yet it works.
And it works. And I'm doing it. I'm virtual 100%. I mean, we're all virtual now, but you know, I've never met any of you.
Any of us in person. And that's like, it's so incredible. And it's, I guess, again, it's testament to your courage to come and go, these people that I've never actually met, I come and, you know, connect with and do all this work and transform my entire life. Yeah, and it's also cool to know that it just works regardless. You don't have to be in the room here with me.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
you're doing calls from Kenya, you know.
And yeah, exactly, Ethiopia, and you can still be that connected.
Totally.
And but I think that's, to me, I've been through, you know, if any career person has potentially been through some coaching.
Yeah.
And so like I've been through different coaching before. I've done it. You know, I've been through some gamut.
Development.
Yeah. But this is different because you're not just, without knowing that you're unpacking your career and you're unpacking your personal life, you know, the choices around the partner, the choices around everything.
Yeah.
You start to recognize that actually it's beyond coaching. It's like beyond, there's no vocabulary that really explains how much this changes like life. It changes your life. And you've done it yourself. It's, 100%. You know,
100%.
It's you putting in that work. It's you know, you put in what you get out. It is so true.
Yeah.
And the more that you invest in each of the things that you guys put in front of us, whether, you know, you're on the evolution program and you're putting in time, even though I'm joining remotely, I can't join the calls because they're 3 a.m. in the morning for the group ones. I'm doing it myself because I recognize that will unlock more, that I want to keep evolving. 100%. I know that my life and where I sit now is not stagnant. No. That today there's this thing for me and tomorrow will be the next and tomorrow will be something else.
Wow.
But I'm not living back there, you know, back here or in front. I'm living here.
Wow. Well, you kind of answered my question, and thank you for sharing that, but you kind of just answered my question because I was going to say, you've worked through all the heavy stuff and, you know, like you said, turned up and cried most sessions.
Totally.
Yeah. I know. I get it.
And then joining a work call and like, is everything okay? Yeah, I just had a bad workout. Yeah, just really worked out today.
Yeah.
Tears.
That's what it takes sometimes, right? So, you know, what's life like now? What's different?
Yeah. Everything. And it's everything without anything necessarily on the outside.
Yeah.
Outside of my weight, because I had, you know, I'd shared I've lost weight.
Yeah.
Without being on a diet. Like this is, I'm not on anything. I'm not in any program.
Yeah.
You guys haven't been coaching me through anything around weight loss.
No.
But because I know me, I understand what my core values are.
Yeah.
You know, I know what they are. And I know that, you know, I know what today is going to look like for me. Because I'm defining it and I'm acting on it.
Wow.
And I'm living more in that present moment, you know, without just like moment to life, just like, you know, like a free life and, you know, whatever, hang loose and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I am, but with a purpose. It's all purposeful, you know? So for me, like, everything has changed because how I see myself and me in this place, in this planet, in the roles that I play, in the roles that I am a part of, you know, has changed.
Wow.
Like, that's what's changed. It's me on this earth that's changed.
Wow.
It sounds to somebody else, I'm sure, a little bit like, what is she on about? What is this?
So question, because it sounds like before, you know, I had this idea that success is all these things, but, you know, I was ultimately unhappy. Now it sounds like externally not that much has changed. You still work in the same environment, you're still in the same job, you still do the same stuff, you know, you've lost weight as a byproduct of doing your inner work. But it sounds like, before you mentioned, I was kind of went to Ethiopia and I wasn't kind of in charge of that. I just went along with it. Sounds like I abandoned myself maybe in doing
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Now what I'm hearing is that nothing's really changed externally, but I'm in charge of my life now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I know what my lines are, like, because I know my values.
Yep.
I can go to my work, which still manages in a fear-based management system.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. Nothing has changed in that.
No, my boss hasn't changed. The politics haven't changed. Yeah.
Nope. Politics are in fact increased, and I have more bosses. I don't just have one anymore. I've got 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting place. I still love what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with being there, because now I can say to my job, no, this won't work for me for these reasons, but this is what I'm willing to do. This is where I'm able to meet you, because that's going to be beneficial for you as much as it is for me.
Amazing.
Because, that ability to be able to know, okay, what works for me. Yeah. And what will add value. Yeah. The boundaries and how that adds value to my life, right? To my present, to today.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, because I had a lot of abandonment issues around everything else. Work was particularly interesting because it was more worthlessness. It was more needing to be perfect.
Yeah.
Needing to be enough. Needing to show I'm enough.
Yeah.
And I've stopped doing that. There's no need for me anymore to feel like enough, because I know I am. And when I say that, I really, truly mean it. It's not just the strong, confident woman who's who used to come in there and pretend she's got it all. It truly is me understanding that I'm okay. That I am as myself, my dash self is just perfect as is.
Wow.
Wow. And so that's helped me with the job, being able to thrive in an environment that does fear-based management without feeling or taking on what might come out of that.
Wow.
Not caring what they might say, because they're afraid. Recognizing what's happening for somebody else and accepting, I understand this is hard without feeling it myself, and that it's about me, recognizing it's not about me.
Wow.
Recognizing that, actually, I come with these things. And so I know what's going on here isn't necessarily about me, and what's happening is different.
Wow.
So being able to part and parcel some of that stuff. And then, with my other stuff that I ignored, I needed, right? My friends, I have loads of friends. I'm a Leo. I'm really good at making friends. That's very much an extrovert. Never been a problem. But not being vulnerable with them, not asking for help, not really talking to them, only having my sister, right? She was the only thing that I had who knew everything about me.
Yeah.
And what a burden for her, I recognized, and how much I needed to build a community beyond just her that I could be vulnerable with.
Wow.
So I now have friends that I know I can go to and talk a lot about a lot of different things that, I really am going through, sharing just how imperfect I am.
Wow.
And just how that is in itself perfection, because, we're human.
Yep.
And that's made my friendships that much richer. I didn't realize how much I was missing in not investing in my relationships like that. So now, equally with a partner, I don't have one yet, but I'm sure as hell looking. And I'm open to the idea of, one day living with somebody, having a true partnership.
Amazing.
I see that as a part of my future. It's, part of my vision for myself.
It's coming.
And, And
Yeah.
so every day, like, you know, when I'm doing my 100s, living at 100,
Yep.
For the evolution program,
Yep.
which is the daily intention setting.
The better version, the upgraded version, I should
The
say.
upgraded version.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I put in the little things for today that I want to be vulnerable around, that I
Awesome.
want to parent my mind around,
Awesome.
you know, to observe some of the stories that still come up. Like I still have things that obviously, you know, come up. For example, you know, oh, the cellulite, and you know,
Yeah.
like whatever story I've come up, my adolescent brain has come up with
Totally.
that day.
Totally.
And being able to like go, you know, I hear you, babes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
you. And I, you know, but I got this.
Totally.
You're safe. You're all right. You know, we're going to get through this together.
Amazing.
And, you know, but let mama handle this. I've got
So
this.
good. So
you
good.
know?
I do know. I do know.
And it's coming from love. It's
Yeah.
just all coming from a place of appreciation for self.
Totally.
What a different way to live, man. Like it's
I know.
just so, yeah.
So my one, I guess, last question would be, are you happy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I am so happy. I mean, it's crazy because really externally nothing has changed.
I know. I get it. I say it all the time. Yeah.
The only thing that's changed in this is me.
Correct.
The only thing that's changed is how I see my soul, how I see myself, and so how I see life and how I fit into it.
Oh man.
How I use, like, how I maximize on this life, in this life, and in this body that I am so blessed to have.
Wow.
The amount of gratitude that I carry for the number of things that, you know, every day that I experience this conversation, all these moments, you know, that I took for granted.
Yeah,
I've been on this hamster wheel. I am off that hamster wheel.
Yes.
I'm able to, like, off
yes.
it.
Yes. So
I'm able to see it. I'm able to see it there, and it's not spinning.
Wow.
And, you know, I'm standing here and I'm like, and it just feels blissful. You know, it really feels joyous.
Mara, I'm so glad to hear that. I was taking a punt asking that question because, like, at the start, you were like, I wanted all this success, but I wasn't happy. And I was like, well, we kind of got to ask the one question. Be happy. And I'm so glad because we didn't prepare that. Mara.
Totally.
Thank you so much.
But thank you. I mean, it's without you guys telling us things. It's not necessarily you telling us, right?
No.
It's us walking along a journey with you.
Yeah.
It's us walking on that journey.
It's like shining a torch and steps, right? Here's the path, and decide if you want to walk that way, go for your life. Yeah. Right? Like, which is why you say you feel so empowered, because you did it.
Yeah.
She didn't tell you what to do. Tell you what to do. She didn't say this is what you need to fix and make decisions for you. You chose from within your own value system. This is how I'm going to live my life, and as a result, you grow in esteem and self-acceptance and self-worth and self-love.
Totally.
Amazing.
Yeah, and as a result, you know, I've lost like 20 kg, and that's not me in a diet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that much. Wow.
Yeah. I was like I didn't realize, you know, just how much I was carrying. Wow. And we all carry things differently. And I've always carried in weight.
Yeah. Wow.
When things are not okay. Yeah.
Oh my God, Mara. That's like phenomenal. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. And hey, thanks so much for coming on today. It's a real pleasure. And if you could give me a sentence to anyone who's listening to this and can relate, and they're considering doing some work on themselves, in a sentence, what would you say to them?
It's so worth it to invest in yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
We think it's a lot of money up front, you know?
Yeah, our programs aren't cheap.
but it's not. The value add of this is life changing.
Wow.
It's life changing.
Wow.
So if you really want to see and learn how to be happy, you know, really understand what happiness is.
Wow.
Invest in yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You
Yeah.
are a legend.
Thank you so much, Ant. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.